I'm Mrs. King. I've been a teacher or school counselor for 25 years with students from preschool all the way up through 12th grade. I've actually even worked with college students and teachers and counselors and people outside of the school setting as a life coach. So, your teacher invited me into your classroom today in order to help you learn some of the strategies that I've learned along the way that have helped my students and even helped grown-ups too. Regardless of what you think of this, it's not something that's just for little kids or just for grown-ups. It's something for everybody. Some of these things might be common sense when you hear them. Others might be things that you really hadn't thought about before, and I'm going to warn you in advance. Some of the stuff is going to look downright silly, and you might think, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm too cool. That's not going to help me. But trust me, give yourself the opportunity, even if you look a little bit silly, give yourself the opportunity to not just get through your life or get through your year, but to absolutely change your life so that you can get the best grades possible, you can learn as much as possible. When you take a test, you don't freak out and forget the answers that are stored in your brain, but you don't know where they went during test time. So you can do better in sports. Maybe you're on a team, maybe you're going into a competition. So you can do better in any part of your life. You can learn to control your anger. You can learn to control your emotions, and literally, this is something that is going to help you to have a fantastic life. So please, come along with me on this journey. We're going to learn together. Thank you. The first thing that I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to divide this up into little segments where your teacher can choose when to go ahead and show what they want to do. But the first thing that I want to talk about are just four very, very simple guidelines. When you have a choice to make, when you have a decision to make, whether it's a little decision or whether it's something really big, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is that before you make that decision, before you take action, you stop and think to yourself, will this make my life better or worse? And really think about it. If it's going to make your life better, if it's going to improve the quality of your life, then by all means, go for it and do it. But if it's going to make your life worse, you better stop and think about it again. The more you do that, you still might make bad choices once in a while. We're human and we all do that. But the more often that you actually stop and consider ahead of time, is this a good choice for me? Will my life be better? The more often you're going to make a good decision. Let me just give you a real simple example. Let's say you're sitting there watching TV after school one day. 4:30, 5 o'clock is rolling around. You're enjoying whatever show it happens to be. And then it pops into your head, oh, I have that report I'm supposed to be doing, or I have that homework I was supposed to do. You have a choice to make right then. Should you keep watching the show, or should you hit your DVR and record it for later, and instead stop and do that homework assignment? Will it make my life better or worse if I keep watching TV? In that particular case, it's probably going to make your life worse for you to keep watching your show. That, yeah, it's fun in the moment, but what's going to end up happening is either your parents get home and you haven't finished your homework and they're upset, or maybe you forget about it because you get busy in the next show and the next show, and you keep thinking to yourself, I'll do it later, and then you end up really panicky and stressed out because then it's time for bed and you haven't gotten things done. If you still don't do it, you might have trouble sleeping, so you wake up in the morning and you've got a headache, your stomach might be bothering you. Or you just simply get to class and you've been thinking in the back of your mind, you know, I was supposed to get that done. And the teacher might not even yell at you. They might talk to you really calmly and just say, oh, you know, do you have your homework? Where's your homework? But since you've been thinking about it over and over, you blow it way out of proportion and yell and get yourself into trouble. Or maybe you stay calm about it, but you end up having to miss your lunch period or stay after school, miss your recess, whatever it happens to be. Or you just get that F, lose those points, get half credit. And then when your progress report comes or your report card comes, you end up getting on restriction or in problems. And it's kind of like a snowball that starts as a little teeny tiny snowball, but you pack a little more snow on it and a little more snow on it and a little more snow on it, and pretty soon you've got a whole snowman. and it's big, and now you have to deal with a big issue, and it's made your life worse. If it's going to not make your life better, don't do it. Sounds simple, but if you would think about that, you would really change your life. The second thing I want you to think about before you do something is, would I want this to happen to me? And a lot of times when I'm talking to students or to adults, if I say something like, well, how would you have felt if it happened to you? The first response is, oh, I wouldn't care, it wouldn't bother me. So I've learned to phrase that differently. Would I want it to happen to me? Really be honest with yourself. Stop and think about it. Let's say that you're ready to make a joke about somebody. Would I want it to happen to me? Put yourself in their shoes. Pretend you're the other person. And chances are you're going to realize that, oh, yeah, everybody else is going to enjoy it and they're all going to be laughing, but I'm going to be embarrassed. It's going to hurt my feelings. And then I'm going to have to pretend it's not a problem because I don't want to look wimpy. Or I do get mad and then everything blows up out of proportion again. So really think to yourself, would I want this to happen to me? If you would, then it's probably okay to do it. If you wouldn't, if you don't want it to happen to you, don't do it to anybody else either, because what we put out comes back to us. The third thing I want you to think about is something called reframing. Just kind of picture a picture on the wall. Maybe you can look around your room and there's something up on the wall. It might be a poster. Maybe there's nothing on the wall. You just look at the whiteboard or at the TV or something. But whatever it is, if you look at that, just kind of observe it for a minute. Okay, notice it, fine. Now, use your imagination and you're going to reframe it. So, what I'm talking about is literally, you're going to imagine this beautiful frame around it. It could be as plain or as fancy as you want it to be. It might be wooden. It might be some beautiful metallic. Whatever it happens to be, reframe exactly what you were just looking at, and now notice it. Chances are it actually looks better to you. It's exactly the same thing you started with, but when you put it in a new frame, you can think about it differently. Well, situations in our life can be thought about the same way. If something happens, it's a little snapshot of something going on in your life. It can be a little picture. So whatever the situation is, reframe it. If it's something that's bothering you, reframe it. Instead of having it be something that becomes your problem, where you respond to it, maybe it hurts your feelings, maybe you get angry, maybe you start yelling or throwing something and you get into trouble when you think the other person was really to blame. Whatever it happens to be, instead of going there, instead of causing problems for yourself, reframe it. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let's imagine that you look across the room and you can picture this person across the room and they're making a face at you. They're mad dogging you, or at least you think they are. And I don't know, I don't see it. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But really, has it ever happened to you or somebody you know that somebody all of a sudden says, "Why are you looking at me that way?" And you stop to think, and in your heart of hearts, you're thinking to yourself, I wasn't even looking at them. I was looking at the wall behind them. I was looking at my friend. I was looking at the teacher. I was just daydreaming and wasn't even looking at anything. But they interpreted it a certain way. They didn't reframe it, and it became a problem for them. So, when you're looking at somebody, and it's something that bothers you, like I said, maybe you think they're making faces at you, instead of letting it become your problem, reframe it. But instead of using wood or metal, you're going to reframe it with different thoughts, different self-talk. So you're going to tell yourself different things about it. One thing might be, you're going to look at them and think, gosh, if they make faces at people, they're never going to make friends. How sad for them. And move on. Put it back in their court. It becomes their issue, not yours. Another way to look at the same situation is you're going to reframe it with, oh, if they had a really bad morning? It looks like they're upset over something. Again, it's back in their court. It doesn't have to be your problem. Reframe it a third way. Ooh, looks like he's not even feeling good. He's making horrible faces. Must have a stomach ache. Whatever it is, reframe it. Put it back on them. Again, you're not trying to have bad things happen to them, but you don't have to make it be your problem either. Let's say, for example, the person does something or says something. Now, what I've noticed with my students is that if somebody crosses the line, and it really is crossing a big line when somebody will say something about their mama, all of a sudden people are mad, people might be yelling or pushing. We hope not, because that's never the right way to solve a problem, but people do tend to get kind of upset over that. When I've talked to my students after that kind of situation, it's really interesting, because in every one of the cases, I'll ask them, have you ever really asked your mom if your mom cares what a 9-year-old thinks of them or a 15-year-old thinks of them? And almost always the student responds and says, oh yeah, she'd be mad, she'd be really upset. But when I convince them to actually ask their parent, they come back a little bit embarrassed and tell me, you know what, Mrs. King? She doesn't care. She said, really, why would she care? So one way that you can reframe it, it's not okay that somebody's talking about your mom. They should not be doing it. But maybe they had a horrible morning and they're making a mistake and taking it out on you. They shouldn't be, but it doesn't have to be your problem. Instead of you doing something that you might end up getting suspended for, sent home from school for, instead of that, reframe the situation and just imagine you and your mom talking to each other thinking, they've got to be kidding. They think that I'm going to be upset over this, and let it go. Don't tell them what you're thinking in the reframe. You're not trying to put them down. You're not trying to humiliate them or make them mad. You don't want to escalate the situation and make it worse. What you want to do is calm the situation down. So that's what you're going to do to reframe. The last thing I want you to do when you're upset over something is I want you to tap. And there's actually 2 different ways to tap. One way that I'm going to teach you is something to do that when you're upset, when you have a problem, maybe you just remember something that happened to you in 3rd grade and is still bugging you now that you're in 10th grade. So I'm going to teach you one way to tap about that. And then I'm also going to teach you another tapping technique called the right-handed temple tap. And that's something that you're going to do to help create the positive things that you want to have happen in your life. Maybe you want to be a faster reader. Maybe you want to have more patience. Maybe you want to have questions on a test just jump out at you quickly and easily. So the next time I meet with you, I'm going to start working with you on what you'll do in order to tap into a better life. So thank you. I look forward to seeing you again.